And welcome back to Parent Squad. I'm Anne-Marie Tiernan making a special guest appearance today. And this week we are talking the college connection. This is so important, making sure that we stay connected with our kids when they head off to college. And it's something that unfortunately I've got a lot of experience with, and so does our guest, Tricia Lawless. She is the author of Wild Precious Life, Building Fire Without Burnout. And so, Tricia, it's so good to see you.
Great to see you, Anne-Marie.
Yes, and so you have a blended family with 6 kids.
Yes,
right?
correct.
And their statuses now as it relates to college is what?
2 in college, 2 post-college on their own, 2 in high school talking about college.
Yes, that sounds very expensive.
Yes, takes some planning.
Yes, emotionally and financially, right. So, and I have, just to kind of get you up to speed, I have 3 kids. I have one out of college, one who went to college, went to grad school, and then I have one who is now a junior in college. And, on one hand, it's like, this is what we plan for, right? We're preparing and we're preparing and we're preparing, and this is when they take flight. And independence is the goal, that we want them to go and be independent. And then it seems like we still struggle with it. I think that's just so hard.
It is. It was, especially for me, the first child that I was responsible for launching, it hit me so emotionally. And I think a lot of parents go through this. You're so happy for them. This is what you've worked for. And yet it can hit you in this way you don't expect. I remember when my son went off to college and we dropped him off at the dorm and it was the final goodbye. My husband almost had to pull me out the door. He's like, okay, we got to go now. And I got home and I ended up sleeping that whole night in an old t-shirt and sweats that my son had left behind.
It smelled like him?
I kept him on the whole next day. I kind of hit an emotional point that a lot of parents hit, but then I had to remind myself, he's still my kid. We're still just as connected. This is what we wanted. It's a good thing. And we had to establish the new way that we were going to stay connected as parent and kid and let him grow up. And I don't want to smother my kids as they try to grow. But I still needed to know that that connection was there.
Yeah, so what have you done? Like, what would be some tips that you could offer our audience about making sure that you stay connected? And you can stay connected a lot of different ways, not just emotionally, but financially is an issue too. But we'll start with the relationship connection.
Yeah, well, I think the instinct might be too much communication. You might, especially if it's your first and you're not used to, you might want to check in every day. You might want to be texting them all the time, blowing them up. You want all the details. And of course I want the details, but I'm trying to give them space. So what I do, and I did it today, is little texts, not always looking for information, just I'm thinking of you. Here's a funny picture of the dog today. Here's the weather. How is it where you are? And just let them know I'm thinking of you. That simple act just keeps us connected. We have a family text thread too. That's pretty funny, a group text.
That's fun.
So it helps keep, like you have kids in different locations, different stages. They can all come together when someone sends a goofy picture or, then they roast each other.
Right.
That's been really fun. In the book, I shared a story that's getting a lot of attention from people who have been through this stage. And it was about just a phone call I had with my son. I ended up writing a poem about it. And sometimes I think if you can't say it, maybe you should write it. Because with boys, maybe we're not always the most emotional communicators, but we'll have these little conversations that seem very casual. We're just talking kind of about nothing. But I'm listening for what I call the thing between the sentences, just to know that he's okay and know that we're still good and he's fine. So I hung up that conversation and this poem kind of poured out of me called Tell Me Something, Kid. It's kind of how you can be talking about seemingly nothing, but keeping that connection strong. And it just helped me bridge that gap between a really long distance. He's in Louisiana right now. I've got the t-shirts out for my kids' college campuses and one at IU Bloomington. So when you're far away, even a real casual conversation can have a deeper meaning. And they've got to know you love them, you're thinking of them, regardless of their achievement, regardless of their athletics or their academics or how well they do. You love them as a person. I try to make sure that comes through because every kid will hit their bumps with something or other, and they have to know that you're in their corner even when it's not so pretty.
Right. Well, and you don't want to have the communication be such that they feel like they're letting you down if they share this information, and so they don't then communicate with you.
Yes.
Right? And so it's like whatever you have to say, it's okay, and then to navigate that. I also find that you really do need to have an individualized approach, don't you think?
Yes,
Because
yes.
my son wants voice to text. He wants me to just talk and he wants to hear it, and that's how he likes to do it. Then my oldest daughter, she likes FaceTime. She wants a FaceTime. She mounts her phone when she's driving to work, and that's when she wants to talk. And then my other daughter, she just wants a text, just chip, 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 real short, you know? And so a little text to the wrong person isn't really the communication. It's not meeting them where they're at, I guess.
Yeah, that is such a good point. Individualized approach to communicating with them, and even to their launch in the first place. My son and my daughter were opposite when it came to their wanting to prepare every little thing, they're accepting my help. One was very hands off, I've got all this, very detail oriented, got all of it together. The other one was more like, do I need to get a bed? I don't know. I guess I'll figure that out when I get there. And, you know, would have accepted my help if I was offering it, but didn't have it necessarily all buttoned up. So you've got to meet each kid where they are, and you don't want to step on toes if they're really trying to be independent and trying to do things on their own. You just have to be there as a guardrail and a guide in case they're missing something pretty important.
Yeah. Have you ever had a moment or a communication you were like, that really worked. This was a seed that I had planted and it really worked. Like, you know, some families say, well, we do like a FaceTime every Sunday night, like whatever you do during the week, but we're all going to meet up at, you know, is there anything like that you've put in place or not?
I wish I had a you know, tangible time like that worked every week. People's schedules are just too different.
Right.
I would say the family group text has been my favorite thing. And then the philosophy I've had is go visit them when they want you there.
Oh, that's a good one.
Not necessarily when it's just convenient for you or when
and
you
your
think
work.
they might want you. Right. So my son didn't really need help moving in except for the first time. So he gets in his car, he drives all the way to Louisiana on his own now. That's not where he needs the help. My daughter wanted the help with move-in. I asked, I'm like, do you want me or not? Right. But my son will let me know, like there's some big, he's a baseball player, there's some big games here, or he got to play in the NAIA World Series last year, and they won the whole thing. So it was really great to have him set that up, like, Mom, I think you would like this one. I think you should be there and pick up those cues. Family weekend at IU has been a great one. Go to the tailgate, go be a part of the thing, but don't just maybe show up when they're not expecting you or it's not convenient or they're hesitant about it.
Yeah, I would say my hack is being the host when I'm on campus for their friends.
Oh,
so
nice.
my son likes to golf. So we go to Top Golf and we say, you invite all your friends and we'll go to Top Golf for 2 hours. Then they have something to do. I get to meet who is Evan, you know, who is Rocky. I've been hearing about Rocky. And then I get to meet them. They have something to do. You're giving them food, you know, college kids, you give them food, they'll always show up.
That works.
But that's been, and I really copied that off my freshman year. One of my suite mates, her name was Jane Bum out of Columbus, and her dad was Charlie Bum. And Charlie Bum would, whenever Mr. Bum came to Indianapolis or came to Bloomington, we knew that he was buying dinner.
I love that.
And it was so fun. We got so excited. We were all saying to Jane, have your dad come so we can go out to dinner. But it really is a great core memory. And I thought, you know, I want to do that. I want to go out to lunch. I want to include their friends. And I do think that we have this tendency that we get there and we're like, this is our time. I have traveled here. These are our 2 days. This is our morning. But we have to think about the fact that they're in community and we're asking them to step out of their community to be with us. And maybe we'd understand more if we're meeting with their community while we're there.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's a great idea. I'm glad you shared that, because I'm going to steal the Top Golf idea, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, an activity, something like that.
Because I've done the invite a friend with us out to a restaurant, but to have a bigger group and have an activity to do, that's a great one.
Yeah, putt-putt, the Top Golf, my son goes to Baylor, so in Waco, Texas, they've got a putt-putt at the Top Golf too. And so that you know, it's just another activity.
Yeah.
One of the topics that is just a really tough one, but it's real, and I think it's just so important that we address is this financial relationship, right? Because I think that there sometimes can be a tendency for parents to overemphasize that power of the purse. And having some important conversations in advance can make everybody understand what are the limits, what are the boundaries, what's the agreement, who's doing what.
Yeah, absolutely. When there's all that question and ambiguity, there can be fear, there can be resentment. And it's always tricky to figure out. So I've tried to work with, you know, and each kid is an individual situation, their capacity, their available time to work, but trying to encourage them to find the work opportunities that fit with them, set up even during high school, the expectation of how much was going to be covered for college, what were the implications if you decide to go somewhere that's outside of our range, how would that work? One hack that helped us a lot was deciding that dorm decor and decorations and accessories was going to be covered by the kids themselves out of their own earnings or graduation money, and we would cover the very essentials. So it makes it so it's not just this free-for-all trying to make, and everyone wants their room now to look like Pinterest and TikTok and beautiful, which is great, but there is kind of a limit. So I saw the kids get more creative with it, with doing DIY and do a little bit of thrifting and making it really personal and pretty, but maybe not spending thousands and thousands.
Right. Well, I think there's so much emphasis for that the first week, and then it's just chaos a month later. And it is different for boys and girls. I do want to share with you this picture. This was a picture of my son's room at college 1 week after he moved in. Okay, so you see that the bed has no sheets on it, and the bags and the boxes are still unpacked around the bed. So that's a boy. But my girls, we had all the pictures hung, we had everything done, everything was perfect before we even left town.
Yes. This sounds exactly familiar, yep. And my son, it might have been a couple of lights and a candle, and that was the decor.
Yeah.
And my daughter, it looks like you walked into an art gallery, and it's beautiful, but they're both comfortable, and it's their taste.
Yeah. I think another big pitfall that I've seen the kids navigate, if it hasn't been personal, it's been with their peers, is the relationships with roommates. That can be very, very challenging, especially if you've been paired with someone who comes from a very different background, a totally different state, different way of life, and now you're like forced together and you're both having these transcendent experiences, first time away from home. And have you had to help navigate that roommate situation?
Only a little bit, because I think my daughter had a single room last year at
she's
IU.
So lucky.
So now this is her first experience really living with a group of roommates. We'll see how it goes. They've got a cat too, so we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
And then my son being a baseball player, they tend to always live with other ball players, and they're just kind of chill. So there haven't been too many conflicts, but I've just encouraged to communicate with each other about who's bringing what and who's in charge of what. And if something's bothering you, make sure you're letting them know, because the unspoken stuff, I think, it becomes more resentment. I can even remember from my college days when you get so annoyed with someone for doing something, they might not even be aware.
Right.
So having chore lists or expectations of who's in charge of getting the trash out can really reduce a little bit of that friction.
Yeah. I think also it was interesting that the parents' weekend or the parents' training that they offered at Baylor was something, and I had kids that went to University of Michigan, Indiana University, Nebraska, but at Baylor, I felt like they got set up the best when they were saying, this is what the cycle of that first semester looks like. You come in, you're all excited, then you've got parents' weekend following quickly after that, and then by the time we get to October, and we're starting to get to midterms, and those first or second results are coming up. It's too late to drop a class. Kids are really getting into trouble, and trying to anticipate what is this ebb and flow of that first semester, and reaching out for resources and tutors, and being aware of when do you need to drop, when do you need to double down.
Yeah, I think that's an important realization, that it's a whole, the first week is nothing like the rest of the semester.
Right. It's not going to be like this.
No, and you're all hoping for the best, but you kind of have to be prepared for anything can happen. You can have kids who start out great in college, and then they realize as it goes on, this is not the major for me. I'm not even sure I want to be in college. This isn't the campus for me. This isn't going well. This class I'm going to need to drop because I'm struggling. There are all kinds of things that maybe you didn't see coming as a parent that you're going to have to be ready to handle with them, and try not to use shame, blame, pressure, control, but just listen, empathize, help them with a strategy. But it is so hard when you sometimes want to jump in and just fix any problem that comes up, personal, academic, athletic. You just want to go and fix it for them.
Right.
And this is our stage to step back and help them, but let them find the solutions.
Let them,
Oh,
let
right.
me, let them, let me.
To quote.
Yes, to quote Mel Robbins. But, the thing is also, there are a lot of parents that have kids that have medical issues too, that have medications, diabetes. I think, when you think of how serious that can be, and you have taught them, and their doctors have met with them, and you have met with them, and they know that it's for their own good, and yet sometimes they slack off. And in that instance, I really do encourage people to have the peers of your friends kind of take notes of your child. So if your child has a peer that you can have a connection with and check in with Mike or Susie or Bob, like, have you noticed? Are they taking their medication? Do they feel like they're off, or do you see that they're not able to be active? Because I do think that that's a very sensitive, touchy, and important issue, and they don't go do what they've been taught to do.
I mean, that's the importance of, like you're saying, getting to know the network that's around them, where they are, or at least their closest friends, the people that are really in touch with them, because those are going to be important supports for them, and maybe another set of eyes to look out for them.
Right. And the second semester group of friends may be different than the first semester group of friends, So you have to go back, And then finally, talking about the holidays and coming home for the holidays, how to navigate that best, because that's a tough transition too when they come back maybe for fall break, which would be the next time that kids might come home.
Yeah, I mean, you find your household really readjusts, right? They're back, they're in the kitchen, they're sleeping in when you're trying to get to work, and it can be a tricky switch to flip. And also, they want to be out and social and with their friends, and they're used to not having to let anyone know where they are. So you as parents have to decide what's the expectation when they're home for break. Do we need them to communicate where they're going, who they're with, what time they'll be home? Are we going to be sitting up all night wondering if they're not? So you have to make those decisions and kind of make them clear, or else it might make you a little crazy. But I like to involve, when the kids are home for break, really have them help out and plan some fun things like golf for the guys, or my daughter's really good at doing nails, so she'll do my nails and we'll catch up, or take her out for coffee or lunch and do some fun things together. But also just incorporate them in the routine. Can you pick up your sister from school? Her break isn't the same as yours. Can you help me with this errand or shopping or something? Because kind of life is going on for everyone else while you're home from break. So I've tried to incorporate the special fun moments with also just jump back into our family routine and see if you can remember how to be helpful here again.
And unload the dishwasher.
Yes, please.
It's
not just vacation.
Yes, it's hard. I try to, I know which is the special meal that each one likes. So it's like, okay, if you're coming home, I'll make that. So that I'm doing that for you. And I think that's always appreciated. But I do think, and my husband and I think do have a different approach a little bit. My husband's kind of more like, go cut the grass. And I'm like, we've been doing this without them, and when they're here, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I don't know if that makes them feel welcome, or if they're just like, they've gone on and grown. We need to grow too. We need the relationship is changing, the dynamic is changing, and it's not so much that we're just in charge anymore. We have to come alongside more.
We have to grow with the dynamic. You're right. And when I was working on my book, I call it this one wild and precious life that we have, and that's a phrase from the poet Mary Oliver, who really keeps inspiring me. And I mean, this is our one chance to do all these things. And the phase of kids being young adults is really beautiful and amazing. It's just not easy. But when you get those times to sit down with your adult children now and really have a good memory, really connect, and you think this is a human being that I have helped raise, and now they are their own person. It can be so much fun, and every one of them is a little different. It's a great phase. People fear it sometimes and dread it as it's coming, and I'd like to encourage people, don't dread and fear the transition. Embrace it. Expect it to be hard, but prepare yourself, but embrace it. It's really cool to see kids, whether they're going to college or doing something else, becoming adults and becoming free. It's going to challenge you as a parent.
Right. I always think it's just best to lead with love. I love you, and I'm sorry you're in this circumstance, or I'm so proud of you. But I think, my parents are 87, and it makes me so happy when my dad says, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, Annie." You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, I still like to hear that from my parents now. And we
Yeah.
can't forget to affirm and to validate, you know, the connection that I'm here for you and I will always be here for you.
Yes,
You know,
100%, 100%. And I hope that that comes through loud and clear to anyone who happens to hear this today or who picks up the book and sees how much love you can still have through your kids at all these stages, through the tough stuff, through the beautiful stuff. You're right, like everyone wants to hear their parents say, I love you, I'm in your corner, I'm proud of you, I'm happy for you, glad you're my kid.
Right, right. All right. Well, Tricia, we'll leave it there. I just so appreciate you coming and sharing your insights and your story and your book with us. And I think the key point of like, we each have this one life. Our kids, this is their opportunity, but it's also for the parents. It's like, now this is an opportunity too. This is maybe freeing. This is one less mouth to feed at home. This is one less schedule, one less game to go to. So to fill that with something that's positive and meaningful and purposeful is also, you know, an opportunity for all parents.
It sure is, one we can embrace while we miss them a little bit.
Yes, and sometimes a lot.
Sometimes a lot.
Yes, all right. Tricia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I want to let you know that what we have coming up here is with Felicia talking about student loans and the big changes that every parent and student needs to know about. That's coming up right after this.